man, I hope Dave Ramsey's not listening because I'm probably going to go on a little bit of a tangent here. And I think, there's two reasons to make this decision. Reason one is an emotional one, and that could be perfectly fine. Reason two is a financial one, which can also be perfectly fine. So there's two ways to think about paying off debt. What you just hit the nail on the head was the feeling of retiring. A lot of retirees feel like they have to have all their debt paid off or they can't retire. It's just what they were taught. It's part of the Great Depression. It was part of how everyone viewed retired as you cannot get to retirement if you have debt. And we get that. If that's going to ruin your retirement and hang over your head and provide you angst and stress, it should be a factor. 100% should be a factor. Don't discount the emotional component of paying off debt. But the financial one is a real number analysis. It's crunching some data. And I can speak from experience. I just, moved into our first house. We finally, pulled the trigger and built our first house. And when we did it, one of my goals was to pay off the debt over the course of 10 years. And I'll be honest, Randy, we got our mortgage at 2.75%. And my financial kind of game plan that I had ironed out for the next 10 years got thrown in the trash can. And it got thrown in the trash can because having CDs or money markets that pay 4 or 5% changes everything. And the reason it changes everything is because if I start paying down my 2.75% debt instead of putting that money in a money market that's paying 4%, I'm losing 1.25% every year. And over the course of a mortgage, that's not tens, but probably hundreds of thousands of dollars of lost gains. And I think that is how we need to start thinking about this. And, I tell everybody to look at a couple of things right now. If you have a fixed 30 and you have a low interest rate, my gut says you're probably not going to pay that off if your CD or your money market is paying more from a financial standpoint. That's just common, just math, right? If you can put that money into CD that makes a considerable amount more than your 30-year fixed mortgage payment, you can kind of do the math, right? And then at the end of that mortgage payment, you can take that money and just pay it all off, right, Randy? That's kind of, just, calculator 101, addition, subtraction. But I do warn, and I am very nervous about the majority of the world out there that got a little pride greedy and took the 5-year arm. And the reason that they're, probably shaking in their boots a little bit is that, interest rates have went up considerably. And if you have a 5-year arm or a 10-year arm, and you bought that, who knows when you bought that, or a 5 and 5 or a 5 and 1, those are instruments that have floating interest rates over a certain period of time. So a lot of times they are capped, so they can't go up more than 1% a year or 2% a year. Or I think some of them are uncapped, I think. But you need to understand how that works and what that payment looks like. To me, that is a driving factor of whether or not you should pay your house off. If you've got a 30-year fix, you know what it is. It's plain and simple. And frankly, Randy, the money that's in your savings account, you can always pay the mortgage off, right? Like if you want the peace of mind, put that amount of money that you were going to pay off the mortgage in a separate savings account, name it home mortgage payoff, and win yourself a couple percent of interest every year until it gets paid off, right? Like, so if the interest rates do go up or something changes, you can always just cut a check out of there and you have the same peace of mind, if you know what I mean. But if you're on an arm, I would probably be pulling those papers right now and saying, all right, shoot, my interest rate's going to go from 2% to 5%. What does that mean for my payments? Well, my payments quadruple. Well, it may be time then to probably start saying if your interest payments are higher than 4 or 5 or 6%, then it probably makes a lot of sense to pay off that debt.